speaking of butts, Joe Manchin's.
That's a really good transition. There you go.
Thank you. I appreciate
You've been
that.
in radio for a long time.
Yeah, no, I mean, butthead Joe Manchin there. I am honestly, like, it is, and I don't know, stranger things have happened, but it appears, and today the Senate is going to vote on the continuing resolution. And that is, of course, basically a punt on the federal budget. As of now, and you always hear, we want a clean continuing resolution from people, which basically means just extend the budget timeline out a month, 2 months, 3 months. In this instance, they're talking about December, of course. They want to get past the election. Nobody wants a government shutdown. You never know how it's going to play on Republicans or Democrats. And so they all want to avoid it. And so it becomes a must-pass bill. And occasionally they'll put stuff in it. This time they have $12.3 billion in economic and military support for Ukraine. I would imagine that is, 300 million of economic and then 12 billion in military. We're pouring money into Ukraine in terms of the military. This is becoming a huge boon for the military industrial complex. With that said, I'm glad I don't have to be in a position of attempting to limit funds for Ukraine when they're being invaded and attacked by Russia. And we've had this conversation. We can have it more about the utter failure of Vladimir Putin to read the room at any point, and this has been a strategic disaster. And hopefully, again,
it continues to be.
It continues to be. Anyways, $12.3 billion in support for Ukraine, $1 billion for the low-income home energy assistance program, $2.5 billion for New Mexico to recover from the Hermit's Peak Calf Canyon fire in April, $2 billion in additional disaster aid, $20 million for water infrastructure in Jackson, Mississippi. I don't know if that's going to be sufficient. We'll see. It's just amazing. $20 million for got a city of 160,000 people who can't even drink their water, and all of this money being spent. 5-year reauthorization of FDA user fees. Those are the top sort of provisions. And of course, the Joe Manchin so-called permitting reform bill, which essentially makes it, removes a lot of the obstacles and time required to complete federal environmental reviews of putting in pipelines. This is just, essentially a giveaway to the fossil fuel industry and a takeaway from the American citizen and the environment of our country, not to mention the implications for climate change. In addition, Manchin just happened to throw in there coincidentally, I mean, it's such a coincidence.
Oh, yeah.
That there is a Mountain Valley pipeline, which is a multi-billion-dollar project to bring natural gas from West Virginia to Southern Virginia. Joe Manchin is from West Virginia. Quite a coincidence. And I would bet everything I own that there are people involved in that pipeline who are major contributors to Joe Manchin's election fund. And I would also bet that, you could find some way in which this puts $1 into Joe Manchin's pocket. And by dollar, I mean a lot of dollars.
Right. So, I mean, what it seems like is going to happen now is, I guess we'll know within a few hours, right? What happened, what the fate of this bill or this Joe Manchin, what do you call it?
It's basically a rider on the continuing
yeah.
resolution.
Yeah, and but he doesn't have the votes from the Democratic side, and he doesn't seem to have the votes from the Republican side. And if they don't get to 60 votes, it seems like Schumer's going to strip it out.
That's right. The thing they'll do is they will debate the bill, and then they will call for cloture on the bill. And there shouldn't be necessarily a lot of debate on this. Rand Paul will get up and saying, we're spending too much money. And there'll be a couple of debate, and then there'll be a motion for cloture. You need 60 votes, like Emma has said, to move forward. If it fails to get that 60 votes, then Schumer, by all accounts, will probably strip that part of the bill. He has another bill ready. They'll go through that debate. They'll go through the cloture. And then we'll see. But like you say, there is Bernie Sanders has been vocal about it. There could be some other progressive senators who will be voting against cloture. The Republicans seem to want to punish Manchin.
Yeah.
And according to the reporting, senators are privately saying Manchin doesn't have the 60 votes needed to get cloture, despite the fact that he's been lobbying.
It's really just a tough sell to one, like Republicans want to be vindictive because he had that agreement with Schumer, and two, to Democrats who have no majority of the party has no love lost for this guy to attach basically his own pet project to a continuing resolution. Where is what's in it for anybody else? This was a backroom deal between Schumer and Manchin, and so he's been all this weekend, Manchin was on his doing what he loves most, going on Sunday talk shows and trying to lobby for this, took out some op-eds, and there's just no momentum behind it because this is all for one guy, basically.
Right. Well, and to be clear, there is no doubt that weakening the permit process for pipelines is detrimental to the environment, both from a climate change perspective, but also from a perspective on what happens if there's a leak. If you weaken the environmental review of an area and there's a leak, you're going to have greater environmental destruction, period, end of story. I imagine if he had just gone for can I just get my pipeline so I can get my money, that may have worked for him. But it appears it's going to go down. We'll know more going forward.